Dr. Michael Lynn.
Good morning. Good morning and welcome. Thanks for coming this morning at an early hour. A couple of things to get on the table right away. I sound like Froggy this morning. It's a benefit of flying back from Abilene, Texas in a petri dish of an airplane. So if I sound a little nasally, I apologize. It'll get, if I'm not clear, just yell or throw a muffin and I'll sort of get it. Also something interesting. As I was mingling this morning and speaking to folks, it was remarkable how close all of you live, if you will, to this hotel. Why do I say that? I live up in Short Hill, so it's a bit of a drive. So I'm schlepping down here at about 4:30 in the morning saying, you know, I'm sure there are other people coming from other parts of New York and Pennsylvania, right? So I get in the parking lot and I see these plates from all over. I see West Virginia. I must be dreaming, right? So I'm saying, wow. So I come in and I start speaking to people. I said, oh gee, how far do you live? Half a mile. I think I got out to maybe 5 miles and then I was pushing it. So even though my trip was a little longer than yours, welcome for coming. This is sort of the bed, shower, out the door troops that are here today. So I appreciate that, and we have a lot for you this morning. As Deb had mentioned, this is not your usual panel of bankers behind me. And stop being rude and have my back to them for a moment. But this is an opportunity this morning. We'll make some introductions. You all are here perhaps for the same yet very different reasons. The goal here, the title of the workshop this morning, is really about getting loans. What is a loan, how to get it, some tips for getting those loans, but more so increasing your chances to get loans. Whatever you perceive a loan is or is not, it has frankly a beginning, a middle, and end, as all of you know. And the folks behind me on the panel, that my colleagues, I think this represents anything from handing you a check to frankly doing the research necessary and partnering with you to educate you relative to some of not only the technology available to understand how to approach a loan, but more so what options you have. And in this environment, when you're looking for the most effective loan for you, it doesn't actually have to be the best loan for you. So there's some understanding aspects, I think, points that my colleagues will bring up. This morning, because of the differentiatedness of the kinds of questions or comments you may have, I'm going to ask you to mash this up a bit and make this into a free-for-all to the extent you wish. These are, in a sense, your tuition dollars at work. So feel free to ask, feel free to yell, as loud as you want. And to that point, I'm going to turn to my colleagues behind, and with my good colleague Bob Palumbo, I'd ask them to briefly introduce themselves, give an orientation of how they may be best answering questions for you. I'll then start some questioning, and we'll go. Fair enough? Bob, if you can start, please.
All right. My name is Bob Palumbo. I'm the director of the Small Business Development Center. We're out of Rutgers, Camden, and we cover Burlington, Gloucester, Salem, and Gloucester, and Camden counties. If you're not familiar with us, we are part of the SBA. We get funding from the SBA. We also get funding from the state of New Jersey, and I get some money and a place to live from Rutgers University. What we do is, we're not lenders, but we are part of about 900 SBDCs in the country, and there's 12 in New Jersey. Of course, there's 10 in North Jersey, and 2 of us in South Jersey. But what we do, and we don't do loans, we're like GE, we try and make the loans better. We do a lot of research, we do financial projections, business plans, we do general counsel, we do startups, and more importantly, the message I'm trying to get out now is that we are working with established businesses. The percentage is going up. At one point we were 40%, established business. We're at 55. I expect to be 60 by the end of this year, and I'm pushing for 70 by the end of next year. Not that we don't want to help startups, we do that. We do a lot of training now, as opposed to direct face-to-face. Once we do the training, if they go through that, they want to continue, then we will do a face-to-face counseling with them. But we have goals, just like everybody else, with loans. So the only way to do that is with established businesses, because we all know how hard it is for startups to get loans. So that's where our concentration is right now, and so far this year it's working out very, very well.
Great, thank you, Bob.
Sure. I'm Harry Stone, President of Cooperative Business Assistance Corporation, also known as CBAC. We are an independent nonprofit organization, been around since 1987. We're located in Camden. We are a community development financial institution under the U.S. Treasury. We're involved in about 20 different loan programs in South Jersey. The region that we cover is from Burlington County down to Cape May County, everything in between except Ocean County, and we also cover the city of Philadelphia. One of our primary flagship products is the SBA microloan program. Bob and the SBDC and our organization work very closely together with a lot of those customers and applicants. We provide the actual loans, the direct loans to small businesses. The nice part about the SBA microloan program is that the approval process for all those loans is done by us. It's not done by the SBA. And the great part about this program is that whatever our criteria is and lending parameters, that's what works. It's not one size fits all, or it's not a check the box type of thing with some of the other programs that are out there with certain ratios or certain requirements. So we're able to be very flexible is the point I'm making. And we do financing for startups. We do loans as small as $1,000 up to about $250,000. And we partner extensively with banks, such as Sun Bank here today. Sun Bank is great because they're involved with not just referrals back and forth of customers and opportunities. They're on our loan committee, our board. It's a real synergy between the regional banks and larger banks and community banks in South Jersey and us. We do not compete with the banks, we partner with the banks. So it's a benefit, a supplement that the customers get by working together with us.
Harry, thank you.
That's it, Michelle.
Doug, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm Doug Smith. I'm the Community Bank Sales Director for Sun National Bank. Just for those of you I didn't get a chance to speak with this morning, which is a few of us, Sun National Bank is a full-service, New Jersey-based community bank. We've done business in central and southern Jersey for over 30 years. We're a highly focused business and commercial bank. Over the last couple of years, we've originated over $1 billion in loans. We do everything from the smallest to mom and pops, all the way up to your corporate banking customers. And what differentiates us as a bank and how we like to hang our hat is relationship banking. Everything from not just your loans, but obviously deposit accounts, treasury management. It's really a full potpourri. And one of the things I want to get across is, and it's not about Sun National Bank, it's about any institution that you go to. Not all bankers are created equal. Okay, they just aren't. I mean, some bankers have the ability to understand the needs of your business and understand the business partners that they're working with. And even if we can't do what you need us to do, which in the case of lending, there's some things that commercial banks won't do. A good banker will understand your needs and builds partnerships with Bob and Harry and is able to refer. So that's a very, very important thing. My role with Sun National Bank is I manage the retail banking network for Sun. So I manage our 31 branches, and I'm also responsible for small business banking in central and southern New Jersey. So where in our model is our branch managers are actually our business bankers. I deal with businesses up to $1 million in total related credits, so that usually translates into sales $7.5 million and less. I don't have the golden pen. I'm not an underwriter. I don't have approval authority. But in my previous background, before being with Sun, I was with HSBC Bank. I was a commercial lender. I did have the golden pen. So my area is more small business, but I can also deal with questions that arise in the larger area. Just in terms of a trend that we're looking at, what I'm seeing in banking, it's more of an observation, and that's just the fact that, and I heard it in this room too, they're really, and when you look at the economy as a whole, more in the last 10 years, there's an expectation that there is going to be growth in this economy, that there's a lot of optimism out there. And what we're seeing is customers at Sun National Bank who've been with us, but haven't borrowed because they've been good conservative business folks. They're finally ready to take the plunge, hire new folks, buy the building that they're in. So we're seeing a lot of people that are coming to us for the first time saying, you know, what is it that you're looking for? And if you can't help me, who can? That's what I'm saying, and I think we have a great panel to address that.
Doug, thank you. David, please.
Good morning, I'm Dave Evans from Alloy Silverstein. We're CPAs, consultants and advisors in Cherry Hill. And where we come into this picture in securing financing for your business is we consult with businesses so they have all the proper records that they need to get, all right? to go to try to get their financing from various banks in the area. We're South Jersey based, we're a regional firm. We've been in South Jersey for over 50 years, almost 60 years. We've not sold out to the larger national firms because we want to stay in South Jersey, we want to help South Jersey, we want to help South Jersey grow, and we have connections all over the area with all the banks in the area. And we'd like to consult with our clients, talking about various ways of getting financing, not only through banks, but there are other alternative areas of financing if bank loans aren't going to work out for you, and we will consult with you on that. We have a department called Business Process Outsourcing, where we act as the controller or CFO of a company. We take control of your accounting department, and by doing that, we're able to work closely with the financing companies in order for you to have the proper documentation to not be embarrassed when you go for your loan. So that's what we do.
David, thank you. Rosemary, please.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Rosemary Scalise, and I'm with the Camden County Library in Voorhees. For those of you who are not familiar, the county library system has 8 branches throughout the county. We have 2 branches in Camden City. The main branch is in Voorhees, where I work, and then we're as far south as Winslow Township. I often think that the library is the best kept secret in the county. Unlike the other panelists that quote, we're not able to make loans, but we have information if you're looking for loans. We have a service called Reference USA. It's a database where you can search for venture capitalists or alternative lending sources. The library has a lot of other resources that are available to anyone in the community, whether you come in or remotely. In addition to electronic resources, we have meeting rooms, we do programs. We had the New Jersey Division of Taxation come in and do a program for small businesses. We recently had UC EDC come in and do a program on entrepreneurship and starting a business in New Jersey. So we're really trying to reach out to businesses. We have a lot to offer, and we're really interested in finding out what the business community is interested in, what they need, and how we can serve the businesses in our community.
Rosemary, thank you. I think it's fair to say that we have a panel here that can literally answer any question you have, and maybe make up some questions we can talk about in general. And specifically, Rosemary, if I could make a note to your comment, the idea of partnerships and entrepreneurship, I think that's what you have in the dais here. And to cite Rosemary for a moment, folks, all entrepreneurs, small business people, look to, where am I going to go? Do I have to have a meeting in my bedroom? Do I have to have it in my kitchen? The library system has actual meeting rooms that you can go in and conduct your business there for free. Life's good. And use the database while you're there. And to Rosemary's point, the idea of going on and looking at electronic services that may inform your decision-making about business loans, etc., it can be daunting. The idea of going on, where do I start, where do I look? In Rosemary's expertise and her staff, you literally have a staff that will hold your hand. Hand-holding is a good thing. As a dean, I do a lot of hand-holding, because in that, I learn what people need, and also I enable people to frankly transform and enable their thinking, their decision-making. So this idea of transformation and partnership, I think, is evident from all the comments of our colleagues up here. And what I'd like to do, if you don't mind, if somebody has a question, somebody has some input, I'd like you to articulate that now. Let's get some softballs coming up here so our panel can obviously address them, and I'll help sort of the bats, the swings, moving around. So using the metaphor of softball, who's got one to throw?
Oh, come on, it's early, somebody has
Tuition dollars at work. Here you are. You got up early.
Can I pick on BA?
That's a big no.
Dave, Skylar, you gotta have something.
Wow, okay.
Hey, I'm trying to help Doug Williams out here.
Let it
I
happen.
don't live 5 minutes away. And I'm still working.
I want you to get your dollar's worth, man. That's what I want.
Let it happen.
As all of you were talking, actually, I was thinking through some scenarios that I've been involved in. I was, at one time, a COO for a small company. I was with GE for 22 years, so I didn't have to worry about funding for anything. But then I left and became a COO for a small company that was became strapped for working capital. We lost our private equity funding. We had contract opportunities with customers, but we were running so tight after we lost the private equity funding that we simply couldn't hire people to service a contract that we thought that we could win. The only assets, software development company, so the only assets in the company are the office furniture, and we're renting the space, don't rent the property. And what are the options for a company like that that's a couple million in revenue, has about 10% operating profit before taxes, and avoiding having to do a personal guarantee from either the CEO or another family member in the business, or definitely not me as the COO.
I'll respond to that directly if I may. Please jump right there. I am not aware of any financing facilities that are out there that would not include the personal guarantee of the owner. If it's an SBA guaranteed program or even the microloan program, we require the personal guarantee of the business owners. And I haven't heard of a situation with commercial lending the last half a dozen years or more where the personal guarantees are not required. So I kind of want to throw that out there as a starting point. The reason that is because obviously the business owner has control over all the financial matters of the business. Rarely with small business lending with loans of a couple $100,000 is a bank going to put their financial restrictions on that company, okay, to basically run the company financially. So it's left wide open to the owner. And since the owner has control over all the monies, they want the owner responsible for the loan as well. So I am not aware of any sources out there that would not require the personal guarantee.
And I'll kind of piggyback on Harry, taking it one step further, and it's sort of the mindset of the commercial bank perspective that we're looking for. We would look for at that dollar amount to try and get the deal done. We'd probably look for assets outside of the deal. We would look at real estate, the home of the principal, to get the deal done. I mean, the reality of things, and we have to deal in reality in banking, is that you're going to need a second form of repayment, especially at the $2 million in the small business range of things, and personal guarantee is a must. And most banks, I know we would look for assets of the owners, the home. It's just the reality of the situation.
David or Bob, any thoughts?
Yeah, if I can just make a comment, and I guess we're not necessarily advocates for our clients because we can't say give them a loan, but I've been doing this for about 16 years, so I've seen a lot of clients, and it does get frustrating, especially for the startups, which is, as I mentioned before, we're doing more established businesses because we have SBA goals to hit, but when a client comes in and they have contracts ahead of them, they have some financing already, but for them to move forward, they need more financing because there's a bigger contract they can get. They've proven themselves, but they haven't been in business for 2 years. They don't have all the collateral, but when I'm looking at it, when my consultants are looking at it, you can see that the cash flow will be there, the business is good, they know what they're doing, and they're so frustrated because we know we can make this happen, but we just can't get the financing. They don't have the collateral that they need, so it can get frustrating for clients. So I do agree. Where do you go? With this situation, and I do know the personal guarantee is that is a must. And I always tell clients, you can be in business for 50 years, you're still going to make that personal guarantee.
Any other from that?
it's very rare that I'll see a client that goes for financing in the small business area, and depending on what the definition of small business is, that the bank is not going to require personal guarantee. You know, the bank has once they lend you the money, okay, except for your annual tax returns and maybe a financial statement, they have no idea for an entire year what's going on in your business. And they're not going to want to invest $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in your business and have you not invest anything. And they have to have some recourse for their loan. It's just a matter of fact.
Sure. And I appreciate that. Does that help a bit?
I was hoping I was asking on behalf of several.
You are.
folks in the- This is 10 years of
There you
water
go.
under the bridge for me.
I think, is it John?
Yes.
Did you have a question? One of the gentlemen, the gentleman next to you, did you have a question?
Yeah.
I'm trying to read name tags so far.
Close enough. Yeah, one of the questions as a small business owner, trying to grow, I've experienced that scenario where it's a little difficult having the access to access the funds and so forth. What would you recommend in terms to a person like myself to see if having that access to back up to get the funds to grow? What would you recommend in terms of because I've been doing this for about at least 10 years now, and trying to grow to get to that next level, that challenge is always there. It is a little frustrating because we know we can make that move, but you need that guarantor, and where do you get it? What any recommendations?
The SBA has several programs. The 7A program, which is a guaranteed loan program. Actually, our organization is going to be getting into that within the next couple of months. We've already been approved. We've already started some of the paperwork, the process to become a community advantage lender. SBA has the guaranteed loan programs where they will give the bank or an organization like us a guarantee on the loan. That if there is a collateral shortfall, which you're talking about, that doesn't cover the full amount of financing, the SBA will guarantee that loan up to 75% or 85% so that the lender can take on additional risk if, for whatever reason, the business is unable to pay the loan, that their potential loss is reduced to 10 or 15% or 25% of the total amount. That is one vehicle that is probably the best vehicle to use with the company that doesn't have the collateral or the assets to secure it. An SBA guaranteed loan.
Is there any limitation in that loan in terms of, because when I first started out,
Right. Go ahead.
about 7 years ago, I did have an SBA loan.
You did.
Pretty much paid off
Okay.
and so forth. And how does that work?
You can repeat borrow at any time. Under the SBA microloan program, the minimum is $1,000, and SBA loans can go up to millions of dollars with the guarantees. So you're not going to be, I don't know the dollar amounts you're talking about, I'm not asking you to disclose that, but it's a pretty large dollar amount that the program covers to provide loans.
I would just add that it's important to understand where you're at right now. If you already went through and paid off an SBA loan, that's where somebody like David's working with a firm that can help you package and present it to the bank to give us a better picture, to understand where you're at, and then we can better assess where the shortfalls are at for you. Because banks are very rigid in terms of what thresholds that they look at. We want to make sure, capacity is the #1 thing that we look at, that you have the ability to pay your current maturities of your debt with your cash flow. And we have set ratios at banks, and we want to know the trends, how your business is doing, and sometimes if it's packaged better, it'll give us a better picture, and then we can reach for carrier or another partner and better assess how we can do it. Like right now, it's not clear, and obviously we're in a big room, but it's not clear exactly why you're not, I'll call it bankable. I'm a bank. Okay? So it's packaging.
And one other vehicle that's out there would be like factoring. And not knowing anyone's individual business here today, is there are companies out there that will provide financing to you against your receivables. They will advance a certain percentage and monitor those receivables for a fee. And it may not be as cheap, if you will, as bank financing, but it's still reasonable and another way of getting the financing you need with factoring.
Is there anyone in the room who is a first-time entrepreneur who's looking to start a business who has not yet started a business? Having those kinds of fiscal and research questions that you might have. How do I get started? How do these people help me get started? Sure.
I actually work with people that are looking to start businesses,
What do you do if you don't mind me asking?
commercial real estate.
You don't?
So what would be the best way of recommending to them to come to you and say, hey, you know what, I'm brand new, I got a great idea, but you know, what's the next step?
Bob?
Well, that's who we deal with on a regular basis. You know, they come in, they want to start a business, so we will sit down with them. Once they go through our training, it's a very short training program, so they understand overall what they have to do. What the main thing we do is try and understand what it is they want to do, make sure they're focused on the business, they understand who their customers are. So we go through basically a kind of business planning process, because a lot of times the new businesses are not focused. And the most important thing that, you know, as consultants we try and do is make sure if they're going to borrow money, they're going to borrow enough. Because we know 80% go out the first year, not to plug us, no, to plug us. You know, 80% SBDC clients succeed the first year. The second year they go out. But
Just kidding.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, just kidding. No, but that's why we spend a lot of time on cash flow. We preach cash flow constantly to make sure that they understand what they're going, how much they need to start, how much they're going to need until they get to profitability, and we also make sure that they include their own personal finances in the package, so that they can cover, especially if they're quitting their jobs, so that they're covered. And this is why sometimes it's difficult for them, especially startups, to get loans. Because now they've quit their job, there's no income. We get past I don't want to put my house up for sale, so I usually say, well, whose house do you want to put up? Because somebody's going to go up. And so once we get past that, we understand what we have, we understand where we can get funding from. It's not just the bank, is it Uncle Charlie or maybe bringing a partner in to help you with the financing. Once we get past that, then we can move forward and help them with the package and get a good business plan, financial projections to the bank.
And if I can just interject one thing before I forget to mention it is, there are a number of merchant credit card services out there where they make loans against your credit card sales and against the account, your deposit accounts. We're seeing a lot, over the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of businesses go that route, and the interest rate ends up being about 40% on those borrowings a year. It really does come out to that. The reason that it's 40% is because it's the fees that go along with the interest rate, and that's why usury does not come into play. There are legal limitations on how much a lender can charge you. Well, the total amount you pay for that service exceeds the legal amount that's allowed to be charged for interest, but they just call it fees. And the reason so many people go with that is you'll get an answer within 48 hours, and you'll get that money that week up to $100,000 or even more than $100,000 from the lenders. But once you're in it, they're going to take a percentage of your daily sales out of your account every single day of the week, 5 days a week. And it's going to end up costing your business, what I've seen on average, about 40% a year. And people jump at it simply because there's very little paperwork. All they want to see is your bank statements, that's it, and they'll give you the money. And it's you know, they feel good the day you get the money, but boy, the next year is really a pain in the butt having to pay that back every single day. So if anyone knows of anyone that's in that situation, you know, please ask them to try every other source possible before doing that, really. It's really dangerous.
Dave, thank you.
Yeah, so on those emergent cash advances, in my experience, 40% is low.
I'm concerned.
70, 80, 90% or more. I mean, they're attractive to a lot of people because there's very little credit checking. It's just really based on what your credit card sales are. Also, PayPal sales, PayPal does it also. But that's something to be very wary of. And it really wouldn't apply for a startup because you don't history of sales yet. One area that is not discussed too often is friends and family loans. And that's an area where startups can find money, you know, borrowed from your parents. You know, if you're a startup and you're young, you might be living in your parents' basement anyway. So, I digress. But that's another area. It's a little, might be more embarrassing, but and if you do go that route, make sure you get the lawyer involved so you have proper contracts. You know, that's a word to the parents, so that everybody's protected. But those merchant cash advances are, while they do have their place, can be dangerous.
Thank you. And please.
This isn't a question per se, it's an observation. I'm a CPA, I have a lot of clients in the small business arena. And just a caution out there to tell your friends, to tell other people who might be in business, go talk to the professionals, go talk to the small business loan people, go talk to a banker before you do something stupid. Exactly what we've been talking about with these credit card things. I've had 2 clients who've ended up in bankruptcy because it's like, oh, I can't get a loan. Oh, but look at this nice paper I got in the mail that says they're going to give me money. I think I'll get some money. Out of business. When I discovered, I say, well, welcome to the end of your business and how soon you're declaring bankruptcy. Have you hired your bankruptcy attorney yet? Oh, no, I can do this, I can do this. Talk to me again in 6 months. Done. Don't go there.
A good cautionary tale. I'd like to turn the conversation slightly differently and bring attention to our good colleague Rosemary relative to the idea of people who are new in starting businesses as entrepreneurs. That newness, pardon me, also goes to the idea of what we know and what we don't know. And oftentimes, people who are looking to start businesses, while it's a great idea, their idea may not be informed. It may not know the history of the market, what it does. They may not understand some of the challenges and opportunities that are out there. And frankly, the literature, if you will, or the larger knowledge bank could provide. As I mentioned earlier, getting involved and actually doing research can be a daunting task, especially if you're not living the research every day or have the research skills to be able to do it. So people say, oh yeah, I'll go to the library and take a look. 15 minutes later and 2 cell phone calls later, you want to go to Carvel. You know, it's sort of like that. It could be like chewing glass. So I'd like to maybe take the glass part out and make it a little more palatable and appetizing in terms of taking the opportunity to look at the library, look at resources that can inform you to make informed decisions. And I turn to Rosemary as well as a panel to say, what have you seen from folks coming into the library, new folks starting businesses, people with ideas, or frankly, seasoned business professionals in this room saying, I need this specific resource, what can I do? Can you make some comments around that, Rosemary?
Sure. We really run the gap from people who walk in the door and they have an idea for a business and they have no idea where to start at all. So what we try to do is give them some referrals, and to kind of get them started, get them to focus on where they want to go, where they are, thinking about being an entrepreneur. We have a lot of books in the library. We have a lot of electronic resources about starting a business. Sometimes it's specifically starting a business in New Jersey. Like, do I have to have a license? How do I register my business? So we'll try and kind of find out where people are, how much research they've done, if they've had any experience, and get them started. One of the resources we have that we use all the time is called Reference USA. Has anyone used Reference USA?
Nice and loud, we have an air conditioner going on up there.
Reference USA is a fantastic resource. It's very expensive, and we get it through the state library. So actually, if you live in New Jersey, you can get it through any library in New Jersey. If you have a library card, you can access it remotely. It has information on more than 24 million businesses, and also it has a consumer residential component. So if people are looking, they want to start up a business that maybe they're going to supply something to like florists, we can teach them how to use that resource to find florists in any resident or any area, geographic area. Or if you're trying to find a business with a certain number of employees or certain sales volumes, we can do that. So it's really, we're able to show people how they can find potential customers or their market. So we will walk people through that. We will direct them to the state library. New Jersey has the business portal, which has tons of information. It's really for trying to know where they are and to get them started.
And getting the started part, getting the started can be difficult. When people come in and get them started, they walk through the door and they fall off the edge because they're not quite sure that you may give you the knowledge, competencies, or skills to be able to work instruments like this. Can you briefly share a success story that you've seen you've worked with that says they went from here to here?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. I do know that we've had one man who was doing, I don't remember what his type of business was, but he was spending time trying to reach out to potential customers. And I was able to show him how to use Reference USA to find, to tailor his search. Like really, you can do it geographically, you can do it by sales, you can do it. And he was able to just really expand because he was able to reach so many more people. So he was definitely able to expand his business that way. We do have a lot of people who come in, like I said, they have an idea for a business, but they have no idea where to start. I mean, they have no idea about writing a business plan, whether they want to be a sole proprietor, whether they want to incorporate. So we have, like I said, e-books, we have print books, we can refer them to different places where they can really start to do their research to find out where they want to go, how they want to do this, and whether or not their business idea is even viable.
Thank you very much. I'd like to step out of character for a minute and just take a look around here. There's some 40 people, I guess, here, if you will. You all have an opportunity to engage one another, not only here, but when we're done here today. And so what I'd like to take a moment, if you'd be so kind, is to let's go around the room and state your name, where you're from, maybe your business name, nothing too broad. Name who you are. At the back, if you'd like, when you leave today, you can leave your business card here if you'd like, but also understand that the attendees today, as well as our panel, you'll be getting an Excel spreadsheet as an email that has all the contact information of the folks in the room today. That's sort of the benefit of coming. So with that in mind, I'd like to take just a moment for us to introduce ourselves to each other, what our panel has been so gracious to do for us, and let us know who you are. And why don't we start with you?
Walter Szymanski, Everett Camden Curve. We are lower middle market M&A advisors. We work both on the sell side and the buy side for our clients. Our typical client is doing revenue, the sweet spot between $5 and $50 million.
I'm gonna hold you there.
Yep.
Thanks, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jacoby Thomas. I'm Assistant Vice President of Business Development for South Jersey Federal Credit Union, and I simply offer credit union memberships and services to businesses that we offer as a benefit.
Thanks for being here. Please.
John Masson, the Barclay Group for Insurance Agents of South Jersey, and I'm the Vice Chair of this chain.
And it's good to have you here as well. Please, Tom.
I'm Tony Giorgio, principal with Lammy and Giorgio. We're architects, planners. We're in Haddon Township, doing primarily commercial institutional work.
Perfect. Thank you, Tom. Please, Dave.
Dave Zeiler with A. Newman and Associates, also a mergers and acquisitions advisory firm helping business owners buy and sell companies.
Perfect, Dave. Josh.
Joshua Mott, president of Advantage USA. I focus on franchise businesses, mergers and acquisitions, buying them.
Great for being here. John, please.
John Daly, owner of Seto Medical Providers. We provide house calls practice, primary care in the homes and in facilities, assisted facilities.
John.
I'm John Ober, I'm Vice President with GZA. We are environmental and geotechnical engineers and consultants.
Lisa.
Good morning, my name is Lisa Kelly. I'm with Foundation Title. We do residential and commercial.
Thank you.
We're licensed in New Jersey and PA.
Perfect. Bridget.
Hi, Bridget Weiss, Sun National Bank, Collingswood and Marlton, and I'm on the Professional Women's Committee.
Perfect. Thank you. Chris.
Chris Fridbaum, I'm here representing South Jersey Real Estate Investors Association. We're a networking and education association for people looking to do real estate.
Thank you. John.
John Balsam, I'm with the New Jersey Economic Development Association. We work with a lot of the banks and other agencies doing commercial lending.
Perfect. Marlena.
Marlena Lynch, Director of Sales of This Hotel.
Free breakfast for everyone. Kevin.
Kevin Loughlin from Sun National Bank. I manage the Glendora and Turnersville branch.
And I'm going to stop there and I'm going to hold, going to do the last, because I'm going to go back up here and start with Debbie.
Good morning, I'm Debbie Capama, Sales Manager here at the Holiday Inn.
Free dinner.
Hi, Noam Yalon with 941 Payroll and Timekeeping.
Mike.
Mike Sakala, President of Liquid Capital. As these people are talking about alternative financing, if you sell to businesses and you have invoices, we can help you turn your accounts receivable into cash immediately and you don't charge 80% interest.
There you go. There's Lynn, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lynn Cohen. I'm a business attorney with Cohen Feynman. We have a niche practice. We deal with startups and small businesses, but about $3 million.
Thanks, Mel.
Thanks.
My name is Trevor Schell, and I'm with BA Jones CPA.
I'm the A. Jones CPA.
We need that. Scott.
Scott Smith with Sun National Bank. I'm in Medford and Maple Shade, and I'm a member of the Ambassador Committee for the Chamber.
Thanks for coming.
My name's Darren McHugh. I'm the owner of Essentials London Hair Salon, here as a guest of Scott, and been very interested in hearing what you have to say.
Does this mean we potentially have discounts for haircuts? For these? Haircuts? Sorry, I'm good.
Bob, please. Yeah, I'm Bob Vanneman, Ally Financial. We are direct lenders to non-bankable companies. We do accounts receivable, inventory, machinery, and equipment financing from $25,000 up to about $2 million.
Perfect. Stephanie.
Stephanie Marabella, I'm with Select Us LLC. I am a credit consultant and coach, and we essentially assist clients to become mortgage ready and also for businesses to separate their business and personal credit.
Thank you. Judy.
I'm Judy Johnson from Sun National Bank. I'm the regional manager for the southern area of Sun, which is Atlantic City to Camden, and I'm also on the board for Camden County Regional Chamber.
Thank you. And last,
Good morning.
but not least.
I work with David Evans, one of the panelists at Ally Silverstein. We help business owners with their accounting, tax, payroll, financial outsourcing needs. I am also on the Young Professional Committee of the Chamber.
I think you may agree with me, we have a bit of a powerhouse in this room between the folks sitting in the audience and the folks on the dais. So now that we know each other so well, and we're having free lunch and dinner to our colleagues and perhaps discounted haircuts, I think we have an opportunity to extend the conversation to maybe something slightly more intimate, in the sense that people in the room perhaps, or people they work with, have run into, I'll say, business issues that correlate into, we've heard about bankruptcy, we've heard about exorbitant interest rates, some of the difficulties, problems, or things you don't understand. This might be an opportunity to share that ignorance, and I say ignorance in a good way. If I had my druthers, I'd have a t-shirt on that said, ignorant shirt. Because ignorant shirt is probably the single way that you can learn more in a short amount of time than anything. So ignorance in this context is a good thing because the folks up behind me, as well as in this room, can help address that ignorance, if you will, enable you to come out of here both informed and enabled. And that's what this morning's breakfast is about. So perhaps some of the difficulties, challenges relative to loans, interest rates, business issues that you've come in contact with, it may not be appropriate for addressing in toto today, but perhaps speaking with one of our colleagues after the panel, it might be appropriate. So I open the floor to any issues or challenges that you may have encountered or like to talk about. Sir, Chris.
With most businesses not being successful the first time, if you go into venture number 2, how are they going to get over the first problem they had with business 1 and get into another venture that potentially may be the successful one that would make the bank's money on that loan, make them successful, and hopefully keep borrowing money from the banks?
I think basically you have to reboot. You have to kind of learn from the lessons of the previous business and really start over again. Not just try and transition, but take a break and say, okay, what do I have? Again, refocus on what business you want to do. Make sure you have enough capital to move forward, and basically, follow your blueprint, follow the plan, which is where I see a lot of clients having problems. Where we develop a plan, we have a good model, we know how much money we need, and shortly after they start the business, they change the model. They start lowering their prices. They start seeing opportunities over here that, well, we weren't going to do that. We were going to do this. And over my 17 years, someone asked me to, how do you define it? What makes a successful business? So I really had to think, thinking back to all the clients I've had, and what I found was it's not enough to give somebody $100 grand and say, okay, now you have enough money to start this business. What I realized, especially with an entrepreneur when they're starting out by themselves or maybe with one other person, is they need to have what we'll call like the rings of success. They have to obviously have the resources, but they have to have the skills. They have to have a good plan, right? And they have to have a personality to do it. And if they have all those things, they have a much better chance of being successful. It's when you're missing even just one of those things. I used to think 70 years ago, I would have said, well, if you're missing this, you got to hire somebody to do that, or if you're missing that, maybe you need to get an education. But when you're starting a business, to me, you have to have all those things, because I've had clients, just to give you asking about examples, I had a client that he was a machinist, and he was an excellent machinist. He had been a plant manager for a big company. He was purchasing a business. We were able to get the funding to do it. The previous owner, he was holding some of the funding. He was holding some of the mortgage because the bank was only going to give them a certain amount. And of course, he wants more for his business than maybe what it was even worth. So everything was in place. So he starts the business, and he refused to get a bookkeeper. Said he didn't need a bookkeeper. I don't argue with clients. He makes suggestions. He called me up one day and says he doesn't think he's going to make payroll. I said, well, bring your books in. So he brought his books in. She said it showed he had $34 million in his QuickBooks. And then he started complaining about his clients, his customers. Well, they're putting pressure on him. They need it this day. And I said, I told him what day they needed, they were going to get it, and there's nothing he can do about it. And he wasn't good with employees. So it was really, part of it was a personality. And then he changed the model because if we had the cash flow figured out, he didn't like the previous owner coming around, so he paid him off with money that he didn't have to pay him off. And it just spiraled down from there.
In that death spiral, if you will.
Yeah.
I'd like to bring that over to other folks in the conversation, because there's something you said about I'd like to capitalize in a moment, but I'd like to open this question to the panel.
I'd like to pick up on something that was just said. He didn't want a bookkeeper.
Right.
He didn't want a bookkeeper. You know, when you go into business or you buy a business, or however you do it, you spend money on rent, you spend money on advertising, you spend money on various things, okay? The finances is the most important thing, okay? You need to pay attention to the finances, okay? You need to have an accountant, you need to have an attorney, you need to have a team of professionals, okay? First of all, it gives a better appearance when you go into trying to get financing, okay? How you present your balance sheet to a bank may be the difference between getting your loan and not getting your loan. A classified balance sheet versus an unclassified balance sheet may demonstrate your ability to pay back the loan. I do know what the hesitation is in hiring professionals. The hesitation is pretty much for new businesses, you don't want to spend the money. You need to spend the money. If you don't, which brings you to don't be undercapitalized. Okay? If you want to go into business, you want to buy a business, have the capital to back yourself up. You'll have a much easier time getting the additional financing that you need.
Thank you, Dave, appreciate it.
I was just gonna say, I agree 100% because I think that, you know, a lot of people, you were talking earlier about that they have the idea, you know, they have a great idea, they might have a plan, but they don't have the team of professionals. I see so many times where, young people will buy the business from a family member and, you know, they don't have everything that they need in place. So that when they go to get financing, they can't get financed because their credit is not where it needs to be. Then they blow up their credit cards, do you know what I'm saying, and max out their utilization ratio, which kills their credit, which hurts them when they try to go get financing and try to do, either SBA or through the bank or through commercial because they're now riding, the line between what's on their personal credit versus their business credit. But I see so many times that people just do not have the team, the professional team in place, with an attorney. They don't do the due diligence, whether it's, for clients or, specifically with what's in their area, who the competition is, what type of pricing is out there. So, there's a lot of stuff that people have an idea, but they don't follow through on the entire process.
I'm sorry, please, Judy.
I have just something to piggyback off of that. If I'm a business owner or prospective business owner, and I'm looking for financing, I'm looking for some support to help to grow my business or even to develop my business, the first place I would go would be to my accountant. And I have a conversation to see if I actually have the ability, to go into lending and do things. So if I were David, and I think something that may be important to us around the table, because we're all at different levels, I think, of understanding knowledge about lending and different types of businesses. When, what would I need to provide, to each of the different types of business organizations, finance companies, to the bank? What would I need to put together for each of those different sources for myself so that I would know what I really need? And find out, and I think it would be helpful if maybe our panelists could talk a little bit about what we would need, like what I would need to bring to you as my accountant, what questions I might have, what I would need to do with a commercial bank and with some of our different sources and support partnerships there to help out a business.
Is this viable? People hear about that?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I'll take that. And when you're looking at getting a loan, there's really 3 phases that you're looking into, and we've talked about some of them before. I would always call it the pre-application stage of getting a loan. And this is one where, when we look at the volume of loans that come through, where a lot of people don't put enough into it. And we have what's called a borrowing story, all right? We have to have a complete understanding of the business that we're dealing with in terms of it's the who, what, when, where, why, everything about the business so that we can make an informed decision about them. And in the process, you've got to realize that the person as a borrower that you're dealing with isn't going to be the decision maker. They're an influencer. So the best that you can articulate your story, the who, what, when, where, why about your business, the better their opportunity for the underwriter who's at the other end of that and doesn't meet the customer, the better the opportunity they'll have an understanding and they can try and get the deal done for you. So a recommendation I would have for any business that's dealing with a branch manager, a business relationship manager, don't put your full trust in that person. I mean, they're probably very good, but give them, draft your story, okay? Draft in terms of the ownership of it, how you got to where you are, your industry, your business plan, draft it and actually give it to them to submit with the package. And that gives you a better opportunity and gives the underwriter a chance to ask more questions of you directly if they need to.
And I'm sorry, to that point, the idea of the story, giving people your story. The story is incredible because frankly the story is non-quantitative. It paints a picture. It enables somebody to see you as one human, two, perhaps in the same condition they have been, but also generalizes you to a broader population of multiple clients that you have. That idea of the story, I'd like to bring it to David if I could. The idea of the story, when people present the story to you, being a comedian, if you will, what kind of things are you looking for, but what are you thinking psychologically and dynamically about the person who's across the table from you?
Well, being non-judgmental, I'm judging them. One of the things I looked for, and which was brought up before, was do you have the personality to be in business? Some people don't, some people, and there's nothing wrong with not, okay, but some people they're better off being an employee rather than an employer.
So what are some of the characteristics, either unconsciously, consciously, or otherwise, you're making decisions about?
Well, it depends on the type of business that they're talking about. Okay, how dynamic are they? Are they sales oriented? Because no matter what business you're in, even when you're in accounting, okay, which people definitely don't associate with sales, you're in sales.
Of course.
And because you're not going to survive without getting new clients. So, are they sales oriented? Do they have a temperament? Are they quick to anger? Are they not quick to anger? When they come in to talk about going into business or acquiring a business, did they bring all the details that I need? If they brought all the details with them, without me having to force the details out of them, it means that they're prepared.
How do they know the details that they need?
Well, sometimes, when they make their appointment with me, I may tell them what to bring. Okay? Now, if I tell them what to bring and they still don't bring it, then I might have a problem with that. Okay. But if they have a business acumen, they're going to have a general idea of what they need to bring. If they're buying a business, I want to see financial statements from the business they could buy. I want to see bank statements from the business they could buy. If you're buying a retail business and the person you're buying the business from says we do $1 million a year in business, and I look at the bank statements for the last year and there's $300,000 in deposits, something's wrong. So I look to see how detail-oriented they are, how focused they are on being able to grow, and what their background is, what they were doing previous to wanting to go into business, because that might relate to the business that they're trying to go into.
Exactly. It's going to bring us over to Bob, relative to Bob, and Harry, let me think about this too. Is the story also foundational to the business plan? So Bob, what do you think of this?
Well, first of all, I have to agree with that 100%. I mean, with the first session, a lot of times you do know, you have a pretty good feel whether or not this person is going to move forward. The first thing is, did they even bring a notebook? You broke the first rule. And then if somebody that's in business wants to expand the business, when I'm talking to them on the phone, I'll say, okay, and they'll say, what should I bring? Well, they've been in business for a while, so do me a favor. I said, just bring your cash flow projections. And then there's this long pause because they're not there. And that's, to me, probably the most important thing you can do. Somebody mentioned that before about the cash. But you do get a feel. You do get a feel for personality and how they're going to do. And if you want to give you a success story, I had a woman came in, I Harry knows Pat. A woman came in and she was a pharmaceutical rep, and she was just tired of it. And she wanted to get out, quit her job, she wanted to start her own business, but she wanted to get into the cleaning business. Now, she didn't really know that much about cleaning, right? So that was another one of my rules that she would break. But she was, it was, she came in, you could tell, no, she's doing this. It wasn't like, you think I should do, no, I'm doing this, tell me what to do. And so we talked, she had her distribution, her clients lined up, which would be the doctor's offices that she visited on a regular basis. So, that would be her start. I love cleaning businesses, those type of businesses, not a lot of capital involved. To get started is something she could do part-time. So, even with the first meeting, I just two pieces of advice. We did build a plan, but I said, number one, she wanted to build a business. I said, don't ever clean. I said, and don't ever lower your prices. And I said, so we came up with a plan, go out and get one client. One client the first month, get two, get three. Well, she went out and she was coming back, every 3-4 weeks, but she got 3 clients, and 5 clients, and 6 clients. And the key was she had the people to work that would work it, which in that industry is very difficult. There's a lot of turnover. But her strength wasn't cleaning, it was her focus, and it was her people skills more than anything else. Because right now, she went from, that was 2005, she's like semi-retired now, has built, she's been voted #1 in South Jersey for cleaning. She went from residential to commercial, but this is a person that was determined to do it.
So before I bring it to Harry, this notion of, I think Doug said it before about being an influencer. It sounds like you were influenced, Bob. It sounds like she was in a position to, frankly, you were her first client in this sense by influencing you.
Oh yeah,
to be able to give her what she needed.
She told me right away.
There you go. You gotta love that. Yeah. So she should be high standards.
And you're right. That's
she should have a side business talking to people like you. There you go. Harry, if you could jump in, please.
Sure, I'd love to. Our organization is the #1 SBA microlender in the state of New Jersey. I just want to throw out that in 2015, we were #1 in the country for SBA microloan volume. So we do a lot of startup financing. About 20 to 30% of the loans we make are to startups. And our cumulative default rate of failed loans since 1999 is less than 6%. So when you're hearing about business failures being 50%, first 5 years, 80%, we have not had that experience, and here is why. We spend the greatest amount of time with our customers and applicants before they go into business, not afterwards. And everything that has just been said is why, fortunately, we've been successful in some of our customers. We get to know them inside and out before we make the loan. We visit their place of business. Or if they don't have a place yet, we'll visit them at their home, or at a Starbucks, or the library, or a week face-to-face. We have several meetings with them before we would make the loan. Okay, and we're a nonprofit, that's why we're able to do that. Much of the lending today is done online. We talked about that earlier. And you just fill out a form, an application, yes or no, based on a credit score, easy money. But you're never going to get the opportunity with that type of lending to establish the relationship, to share what works and doesn't work, to discuss the risks, to discuss an exit strategy. What happens if it doesn't work? Is this a reasonable amount of a loan for you to take out? Because when we talk about personal guarantees and giving mortgages on your homes, you're risking your life, you're risking your, everything that you have, your family, your income. We take that very, very seriously. So building that relationship up front is critical, and the first thing we want to do is do no harm. We do not want to put a person in a situation where they're going to end up worse after going into business. So we really share with them all of our experiences that we have, again, for free, right? This is all part of what we do as a nonprofit, of what works, what doesn't work, what has caused failures in that specific industry for other businesses. And we spend all that time with that customer, and many times we talk them out of going into business, and that's a real success. because they're not hurt.
And to that point, I'd like to bring this notion of questions and engagement and the questions people ask over the road. And the idea of folks coming in your door for the first time, they may come in and say, "Ugh," and you sort of get that. Can you give us a sense of some of the first-time questions you hear and/or some of the more sophisticated or nuanced questions you receive?
Certainly, the majority of what we get are first time somebody they've got an idea and it's going to be a wonderful business, and we really are. We will ask them. We try to draw them out and find out where are you in the process. We will get them started. We will make referrals. We will send them to the Small Business Administration. We will send them to the Small Business Development Center. So many of the people really have no idea. It's just, they know that they want to be in business. They know that they want to be their own boss. So we will get them started. We will make referrals to them. We will talk to them about, have you looked into a business plan? Do you know how to write a business plan? So we will direct them to how do you start a business? What is the first step? We have resources. Do they know other businesses that are doing the same thing? Look at those businesses. See how successful they are. We have access to our local newspapers. If it's a local company, search them out. Find out how they're doing. Find out who their customers are. And find out how they're doing financially. So we will get them started that way. We have something called Universal Class. We just got this, which is an online system for you can get continuing education credits. But they have lots of modules on business and starting up a business, finance. Will direct people there. Go in, find out what the basics are of starting a business. Like, look at this, see if this is really, suit your personality. We're talking about the woman who wants to start the cleaning business. There's a certain mindset. So it's like, look at this and see. Basics of starting up a business. Does this fit in with your personality? Do you really understand all that's involved in it? So we will recommend that they start there. As far as more sophisticated questions, a lot of times it might be industry-specific questions. So we do have access to LexisNexis. We have corporate affiliations. So we have very expensive business resources that we will tell people, go in and search for industry information. Find out what's happening. Is the industry moving up? Is it moving down? Is it cooling off? So do your industry research that way. So that'll be a little bit more.
And to the point, Rosemary, does the library system, to your knowledge, host events with people like these that can be on site and in the evening, a Saturday, whatever it might be, to have this kind of more intimate conversation? Do you know that occurs in the system? And if so, how can our folks find out about that?
We have not done so yet. We have done several, within the last year, we have done several workshops. Like I said, we did the Division on Taxation came out and did a 3-hour program. And they were all small businesses that were there, and businesses just really starting out. We had starting a business in New Jersey. It was a 2-hour workshop. We had entrepreneurship. Is this really, what you think it's going to be? And at each event, we probably had about 40 people. Some of them had already started their businesses. Some of them were thinking about it. And what was really interesting was, there was, of course, the back and forth with the presenter, but there was so much back and forth among the attendees, and they were actually helping each other because a question would be presented. At the last workshop we had someone who was in the insurance industry. So she was actually able to answer some of the questions that had come up from other attendees regarding insurance issues. So there was a lot of help among the attendees of these small businesses. And as the library, we really feel that the business community is out there and that we haven't served them very well the last few years, and we really want to find out what the business community needs and how we can better serve you. And so we hope in the future to offer more workshops. Certainly we do have librarians who have a variety of backgrounds. I actually started out as an accountant before I found my passion in library land. But we always, if we cannot answer your question quickly, we will do research or we find people can get the answer for you. So we are really very responsive to questions, and we try to get back to people very quickly. But if we don't know the answer, we try to find out who would be the best party to answer the question.
And to that point, it's the who and the what. And the who, I think, is sitting in front of us. The what may come from Rosemary. The integration of those two is an opportunity for this notion of partnership and entrepreneurship at whatever level you are. It is such a powerful experience, and I'm experiencing it right now. Even though we have 40-ish people in this room, we've got about, I don't know, 3-4 yards between us. There's dynamics as I see them going on right now. People thinking, people writing, notes being taken. This is probably at least $150 morning for many of us to pay to get in here. So I think we have a benefit here. I'd also like to make this statement. Obviously, talking about education, this is my opportunity for my platform. Being the Dean of the School of Business at Thomas Edison State University, education, business education, who better than me?
That's why we have you, Dr. That's why we have you.
That's it. I'd like to go back to Bob for a minute. Bob, you mentioned something before, must have been about 25 minutes ago, about if somebody goes bankrupt, goes out of business, they have to reboot. Can you give us a little bit of clarity of what reboot means?
It's really developing a new business plan. It's almost forgetting about the issues that you had before. I mean, not forgetting about, but learning from them, but really starting from scratch. You know, how much cash do I have? How much capital can I still raise? But you have to make sure, and somebody else mentioned before, that, you know, is this a viable? Should I continue? You know, did I not succeed? What were the reasons? Was it was it personality? You know, was it, you know, did I not start out with enough funding? Did I not hire the right employees? Is it the right type of business for me? So I think you have to answer all those questions first, really before you move on.
And I'd like to take that and bring it to David, if you don't mind. This notion of having, this is a qualitative area that obviously is interpersonal. And the experience that we have on this day is really rather impressive. The idea of getting a sense of who they are, that sensibility turns into, frankly, at some point, either a relationship with you and or others, and or a loan, and or some other kind of fiscal quantitative instrument. Can you talk a little bit about the translation of, again, the subjective area about rebooting, the way Bob put it, or your evaluation? Somebody said, you failed the first time. Is there any point to come to you? And if so, how can you benefit them? How can you help them see the error of their ways, if you will?
Well, yes. When they come to me and if they have had experience in business before but it wasn't successful, we try to figure out why wasn't it successful. Okay. Is it something that's inherent in their personality, or is it something that they were a victim of circumstances? That happens as well. One of the reasons that businesses aren't successful, I think, is lack of a business plan. We mentioned business plan on and off here, but a business plan isn't just something that, you know, you fill out papers so you can hand it to your banker so that you can try to get a loan. Okay, a business plan is what it says, a business plan. All right, do you follow the plan through, even after you get your financing? Okay, the business plan is important in that it's your guide, it's your instructions on what you're trying to do, and it's supposed to help keep you focused on the areas of the reasons that you went into business. If you don't have a proper business plan, it's hard to stay focused on what you went into business to do in the first place. And that's one of the main reasons that people fail.
If I can interject the notion of proper business plan. As a seasoned professional, Doug, I'm going to come to you in a minute on this. The idea of being a seasoned professional, you understand what a proper plan is. You know what works and doesn't work.
Right.
Can you give a direct sense of what properness is?
Okay, so you want to address, in a business plan, you want to address the market. You want to address maybe some personal issues of why you feel that this business idea is important. You want to talk about the population of the area that you're in business. I know someone that oddly enough was opening a comedy club. Okay, so one of the things he looked to was if he opens it in an area like Shamam, where maybe there's not a large population, what kind of audience is he going to draw? But if he opens it in an area like Cherry Hill, there's an audience to draw. You can't, I want to open a comedy club, what's the first available building that I can use? It doesn't work that way, so you have to have some planning involved. The other thing, as an accountant, that you need in a business plan and a proper business plan are projections, okay? And you have to source the projections. You can't just, I have so many people that just say, yeah, I'll do $500,000 in my first year. Well, how do you know that? Okay, that has to be in the business plan. How do you know that? You can't just, pull numbers out of the air.
So where's the data, right? Where's the data?
Everything has to be sourced and referenced, and this is one of the things that we do at our firm is help or write the business plan.
Perfect. I'm gonna take that to Doug, and then I'm gonna take it back to Rosemary. Okay, Doug, can you also address this properness and maybe a direct, concrete example of how you may help somebody develop a business plan, or refer them to somebody on this panel and say, this is the proper format to use?
Yeah, I would say at the commercial bank side of things, the business plan is sort of you have to have that ingrained in your mind already. I mean, when we look at from the startup standpoint, it helps to put pen to paper and understand the markets that you're going to be servicing. The expectations when you're doing a loan with a commercial bank is really that your actions and your behaviors dictate a careful thought of what you're doing. Like if you want to, you own a business and you want to take it in a different direction, you want to go into a different marketplace. A lot of it is going to be predicated on what your prior results or what your prior financials are. And if you're going to articulate to us that you're going to take somebody else on and it's outside of the realm of what would be in your business plan, it's going to cause really questions for us. I think that's one of the differences between a startup more and an established business is you just want to make sure that there's the consistency in your behaviors that you've developed in your business plan prior to that. That's kind of what we're looking at from a commercial bank.
That's wonderful. Rosemary, if I can bring it over to you because I know you have something to add.
Oh, okay. I was just piggybacking on the data, for business plan, knowing the data. I mean, that's one of the things where we can help you. I mean, everyone knows how to get to the census data, but sometimes it can be a little difficult to find the exact information you need. And also going back to the Reference USA, if you want to start a pet sitting business, whatever, you can search and find out how many pet stores are in the tri-state area, how many pet stores are within this zip code. In the consumer side, there is, you could find out how many households in a certain geographic area own pets. So how many households subscribe to certain kinds of magazines. So you could really use that, like, is there really a market in this area for what I want to do? So, the business plan.
Sir, please.
I just wanted to comment, pardon me, on business plans. Over the years, we've seen a lot of our clients actually have the 3 or the 5 year business plan upon startup. Many of them, though not all of them, execute that plan. But the next sort of obstacle we see that people hit is, so they've executed the first 3 year business plan, or 5 as the case may be, and then they decide that they want to grow or they want to branch off into a different area of their business, and they don't create the next business plan, the second 3 years or the second 5 years. And I just think that's incredibly important unless you're planning on staying exactly the same. And even then, I think there should be the second plan. I think, gosh, must be half our clients probably don't do that.
Any comments?
Well, at the very least, and it's true. I mean, it's true. I was at another conference, and they said, and they were all successful contractors, and they said, who has a business plan here? Nobody raised their hand. It was about 120, but not one person raised their hand. So, at the very least, what we try and push is cash flow projections. And it does go back to the plan about having a solid plan, a solid assumptions and we try and preach, there's a difference between goals and projections. Because when they come in, they have these goals, this is how much I want to make, this is, where I want to be, and that's what they try and build. The problem is when you start operating business based on goals, you're going to fail. Because if you don't hit those goals, you're spending at that level, but you're not making that level. So, yes.
When you help businesses create their initial business plan, if that's the one you're working on, are you pushing, to use your word, the good, better, best philosophy? So you have 3 sets of projections? I ask only because I started my business in 2007. We're coming up on our 10-year, and I didn't know it was going to be the worst recession in the history of my life. A year in, and we did have kind of 3 sets of projections. We didn't have the ongoing off projection, but we made it through.
We do that. We do a lot of different scenarios. You want to see what the break even is. So when someone's starting a business, one of the most important things is how comfortable are we with the revenue projections, which is the $60 million question, right? Expenses are easy to figure out, but it's really what the revenue will be. So we'll do different scenarios. We're only going to give the bank what we believe it's going to be.
I wish it was a $60 million question.
But the idea is, how comfortable are we with our assumptions, right? So, somebody asked me one time, and I didn't have this much time to speak, and they said, tell us what the SBDC does, and I said, we're anxiety reducers. The idea is, when you're going into the business, the last thing we want to worry about is, okay, now what are we going to do? So, it's been mentioned on the panel, you have to have a solid business plan going, and you have to follow the plan. Because as soon as you start, you set your price. This is what my price is. As soon as you start lowering your price, you change the model now, right? And even if you're doing the volume, in other words, the quantity, you've now lowered your margins, and it's going to affect your model. So we want to see, how much room do we have? Right? So if we need $300,000 in sales the first year, and we think, well, we could probably do 400,000, 500,000. We're okay. But then if it's really tight, then the next question you have to ask is, what's your risk tolerance? How much are you willing to risk on this business?
So with that in mind, the flexibility of entrepreneurship, the risk and reward, which is obviously clear. I just had a whisper in my ear. Trevor said he has a softball, so I'm going to tee him up.
Thank you. We've been talking about business plans, and I've heard cash flow probably almost a dozen times, yet we haven't really honed in on that. I know there's some financial solutions and options that might help businesses that are getting jammed up. They've got projects in the pipeline, but they're jamming up where their cash flow is, and they might fall prey to, per se, those bad credit card lending on your receivables that we've all agreed is really terrible and you should stay away from. Lending on your credit cards.
Not lending on credit cards. We did people that money. Yeah, one area that we didn't discuss for financing.
That's what I'm talking about.
Is, and this ties into what you were just asking, is purchase order financing. Okay, where there's companies that you get a big project to do, you don't have the capital to fund that project, but there's companies that will fund that project for you. And then once the project is completed, you get paid, and it's kind of like factoring, but it's a little different.
Aaron, can you put in this one?
Sure. I mean, working capital loans is what we do. I mean, we do the SBA microloan program, again, up to $50,000 for working capital, and that helps a lot of businesses with those needs. We do not do project-specific financing. We do it on term loans. So what we're going to look at is the historical trends, the historical results of the business, and then provide term loans. There's no prepayments, though, on the term loans, and they're fixed rates. So you can get up to a 6-year working capital loan. At a fixed rate, right now it's about 6%. which is really cheap compared to credit cards or any of the other fees that are out, or other charges that are out there. And if you only need it for a year, you can pay it back in a year. But the payments are based on a 6-year repayment, so your monthly drain is very small, one cash flow. So that's certainly an alternative.
Nice pitch. Thank you. John?
One thing I haven't heard anybody talk about is like a revolving loan or an ongoing line of credit where
That's what I was.
you could have a set credit with your financer and you could use money up to that limit, periodically as you need it.
Doug, you want to pick that up?
Absolutely. I mean, in terms of that type of financing, I mean, we offer working capital lines of credit, and that's really to finance working capital, your accounts receivable. The difference between a line like that and something that would be a term loan is these are self-liquidating lines of credit. So on our basis, we're going to take a look at, in a general sense, not factoring, we're going to take a look at your account receivable level, we're going to take a look at your inventory level, and offer you a line of credit that's proportional to your receivables and your inventory. The expectation, though, is that there is, in that period, going to be a period of time, since it's self-liquidated and you're going to pay yourself off, that you're going to have a cleanup period of that in a year. So you're going to have that cleaned up at least 30 days. It's not the profit from your business that you're ultimately relying on, it's just the liquidation of those receivables.
Sir?
That's exactly what we do. It's a secured line of credit based on your receivables. It's a revolving line. We track the ins, which are the payments, and we make advances as needed, as requested, up to the line that's established. But the primary driver is your level of receivables. So it's tailored to grow as your company grows. As your receivables build, your line of credit can track with it. Now, in any small business, as long as your rate of growth exceeds your rate of profit retention, your reliance on your line of credit will increase. So when you're in that growth mode, you need a line of credit. And it's not a bank line of credit in that it's a fully monitored line of credit, and we don't have a lot of we don't have operating covenants the way a bank would. It is for it's a more challenging credit environment, the companies that we finance. They may not have the track record, well, they will not have the track record that a bank would require.
Yeah.
So the pricing is commensurate with the level of risk. We are direct lenders. We borrow from banks, and then we borrow in big chunks from our banks, and then we lend it in small chunks to our customers. So that can be a solution. I mean, it's been a solution I've been providing for about 30 years now.
What if you don't have the receivables, but you've got a backlog?
Well, on the receivable side, David mentioned on the purchase order side. On the purchase order side, we generally work with purchase order financing companies, but it's usually a trade finance type situation where it's a situation, say the goods are produced in China, or I have a situation now where the goods are being produced actually in Israel. So they're finished goods, the company takes title upon arrival at the port, so the purchase order financing company would post a letter of credit to give the foreign manufacturer confidence that he's going to get paid upon, as soon as he meets the conditions of the letter of credit. Once the goods arrive in the port, the customer takes title to the goods. Once it becomes a receivable, I pay back, on the receivable basis, I pay back the purchase order financing company that actually provided the letter of credit.
And I want to take that and redirect it back here. If you can take
And I was just gonna add to that. There's a difference in banking in terms of size, larger versus smaller. Small businesses, a low-touch type of environment versus a facility like, I don't know your name. Sorry.
Bob Vanderman.
Okay, what Bob was talking about, higher touch. The idea in small business is that you're not going to have that monitoring if you're going to base the line off of receivables. You have the cleanup period. You're not going to require monthly receivables, borrowing-based certificates. You're not going to check that in small business because it's just not worth the cost of doing it. So it's more of a simple type facility in a small business environment. But we also on the commercial side do offer borrowing baselines which are completely a function of the receivable.
If I can bring that to Bob or to Harry at one minute. Harry, can you speak that, please?
With regards to what specifically?
Gentleman's question is?
If you have backlog but you don't have direct receivables.
that was answered, but more at the direct financing.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
As-
thank you.
Yep.
Thank you all, sir.
Yeah, just one thing, I work for the EDA, and we do direct financing, working with the banks and such. One thing, just to mention, we talked a lot about when you're starting a business or have a client who's looking to buy a business, yes, you have to have a good accounting firm, but you also have to have a good law firm behind you. As far as when you go to talk to the banks, you want to know what structure you're going to have, you're going to be C Corp, S Corp, LLC, what have you. But also, if you have key employees or if an owner's staying on as a consultant, you need to have a negative pledge, non-compete agreements, how you're paying the previous owner. So there's a lot of things you need besides having a good accounting, but also a good law firm behind you to make sure you're doing everything right, you're organizing right.
And I need to back out a moment. I think it's clear to this point in our conversation this morning that clearly a team approach is not only necessary but critical to success. The quantitative and qualitative dynamics around starting or continuing a business are almost equally as important to be able to get the loans that you need. But more so, I think, to Doug and everybody's point, the relationship that you have is maybe now on the back or a way back burner. And that may be the first thing that you do. Go to speak to a David, go to speak to a Bob, and frankly give you knowledge, competence, and skills to say, maybe this isn't for me or maybe there's a better way. The idea of going to the library and informing yourself before you even step up to that plate, this is not a, I'd like to go into business idea. This is your life that you're talking about. I know you know that. You don't need me to tell you that. At the same point, it's rare that in this context you have this kind of skill set in the room to help you. I'd like to turn it slightly a different way. We've been hearing this qualitative aspect of, I'm hearing David, I'm hearing Bob, I'm hearing Rosemary, everybody in my head saying, it's really a matter of judging the character, if you can, of somebody who walks into and sits in front of you. I'm thinking the attorneys in the room saying, somebody's in front of you saying, what's going on? I like the statistic I mentioned. It almost sounds like a psychoanalytic approach to lending, in that can the panel make some comments around, I'll say a more nuanced view of those things you look for. I hear behaviors. Bob mentioned behaviors before. Is something twitching? What kind of things are informing, again, expanding your decision?
Those could be your closing comments, too.
Oh, okay.
For about 10 minutes.
All right. A lot of it's the confidence level. It's what they bring to the table on the first session. The research they've already done, and they're not asking questions that they should already know, which we get a lot. Yeah, that's really what it comes down to for a second. Can I give a quick plug to Sunbank?
Plug off.
You're the sponsor, so plug away, Bob.
When I had a real job, we did business with New Jersey Transit, and we presented a bid to them. They wanted to give the project out to 3 different companies. Somehow we convinced them that we could take on the entire job. They gave us the job. All right, I didn't sleep for 4 nights. I didn't know I was going to pay people that were going to do the job because the state, any of those agencies, it could be 4 months before you see the first check. Went to see Kevin, and this is important for building a relationship with your banker, building a relationship with your partners. And Kevin was a true partner with our business. I went to Kevin and I said, we got this job. I don't know how we're going to pay for it. Is there anything you can do? And he did. He got us a contract financing with the SBA, and it was terrific. It helped us get through the project.
And I appreciate that. I'm going to modify my question slightly and go to Deb's point, the final remarks environment. I'd like to start with David. The notion of quantitative and qualitative that we've seen this morning, I think the relationship point aspect is truly crucial. I'd like to make any comments you'd like, David, relative to your perspectives on what you've heard this morning, and any final advice you may give to our colleagues.
When you are deciding to go into business, you need to think about the reasons that you're going into business. People come into my office, they say, I have an idea for a business, I want to do this. Well, why? Is the reason that you don't want to work for someone else because your boss doesn't like you? You might not be the candidate to go into business. Because being in business is, the word relationship was used, being in business is about forming relationships. It's person to person. You know, you going to chamber events. So if you don't have the personality to interact with other people, depending on the type of business you're going into, it might not be.
Thank you. I'm going to pass to Doug. And Doug, any closing remarks you may make relative to what you've heard today?
Sure. I would just want to get it out there. There's a lot of discussion, a lot came from me about things that commercial banks won't do. I hope it comes across today. Banks want to make loans. We want to generate relationships. We want to grow and have it broaden. I hope it's come across today that there's an interconnectivity between everybody up here on this panel. You could come to any of us at the stage of business that you're in, and we know each other. We're going to refer across to each other with the ultimate objective, and it has happened. I have examples of it, of businesses that Harry's worked with, and CBEC has worked with, that it comes right back around, and they come back and bank with us and have a full relationship. So there's an interconnectivity between everybody on this panel, and you know, we're working from a commercial bank standpoint to make you bankable, and we have the full resources of everybody up here on this panel.
I'm going to thank you for that, and Rosemary, turn to you, and then come to you.
I would hope that you would all leave here knowing that the library is a wonderful resource for you. You can use our meeting rooms. We have a lot of nonprofits in the area that will use our meeting rooms to do training sessions because it's a convenient location. They're going people from all over the place. We have free Wi-Fi. We have electronic resources, print resources. We have staff of professional librarians with a wide variety of backgrounds. And like I said before, if we don't have the answer to your question, we can make referrals or we will find the answer for you and get back to you.
Rosemary, thank you. And Harry, we're going to turn for you for the last time.
Sure. I also want to put a plug in for Sun Bank, as Doug mentioned. We have relationships with a number of banks in South Jersey, and Sun is one of them. And the difference between having the relationship with us as a bank is that Bridget from Sun Bank here today has a number of customers that, for whatever reason, may be able to get some of the financing from Sun, not all of it, or one of their existing customers had a little blip and Sun's just not able to do it at that moment, but we can help get it done. When Bridget or Doug or someone refers us a loan and they have an existing relationship, that's what it's all about, relationships, they endorse that customer when they refer it to us. So that customer gets that value added of having that established relationship. So beyond the numbers, we get additional comfort in who that business owner is, who that entrepreneur is. And that's a big assist. And then secondly, as bank projects of any size are done, banks are going to want 20% down, let's just say. Real estate or equipment, when that business owner has to use that cash as a down payment or a deposit, it comes out of their operating account, their working capital goes down. We can come in together with the bank and do a second loan to replace that working capital. So it's all relationship oriented and collaboration between all of us that really makes it work. And that's the value added that I think we all bring today to, you know, for all of your clients, your individual businesses.
And that's a perfect punctuation. Thank you all. I think it's fair to say that this has been a dynamic couple of hours. I think there's been a good amount of information put on the table, but to all of our colleagues here, I think a primary outcome is the relationships that have been formed here this morning, even if they are to be formed post this breakfast. So I'm going to turn to Bob and Harry and Doug, David and Rosemary, and say thank you so very much for spending time with us this morning. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to have you here. Your expertise are unmatched. And as a team, you're very powerful. You guys should think about going into business. I would say it's been a pleasure and a privilege to spend time with you this morning. Thank you for coming. And I will give this to Deb for closing.
I had two thoughts. You were talking about the education piece. You were talking about the business plan. No one sends their child to college and doesn't hear the word syllabus. The college doesn't lower the tuition and your school districts don't lower your taxes. So just Just think about that. You're not lowering your prices and you're still in this business plan. You're a former teacher, so always comes back to that. But am I right? Good analogy? So, I mean, your kid goes off to college, where's the syllabus? What's going on? Same type of thing. You gotta know the business plan. And everyone up here, I think other than Rosemary, I've known everyone for 5 years that I've been here at the chamber. The relationships you form are most important. Try to get away from that word networking. It's a buzzword. It doesn't happen overnight. It's business development. It's relationships. It's the development of your business, be it personal, the company you work for, or even your home and the business you run there. So if you need anything, please let us know. The email will come out later on this afternoon with everyone's contact information. I assume eventually we'll have video. So thank you very much to Thomas Edison. Thank you very much to our panelists and especially Sun Bank. Thank you.